Good morning. So today I'm working on a project off-site. It's at my mom's house, actually. My mom passed away a couple years ago, so my kids live there, my oldest daughter and her family. And they're having a drainage issue, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is. So I've planned for the worst, and I'm hoping for the best.
Buckle up for safety as I give you a day in the life of facilities maintenance.
A little bit of backstory. 8 years ago, my mom's septic system, it failed. The house is old. It was built in the 50s. She had already gone through 2 septic field areas. I think the first one was in the front lawn. Then when that field had expired, a secondary field was put in. And when that field expired, my mom was left with very few options on what to do at that point. She was a senior pensioner, not much in the bank. She would not move. This was not even an option. So we were stuck between she would not move, and she also couldn't afford a $40,000 engineered septic system to go in. So that's where I came in. Technically illegal, but done properly. I put in a new septic field in the only location left to do it. It wasn't a big field, or it's not a big field. It is on the far side of the driveway from the house, and it's just a long single run. Mom was, like I say, she was aged at that time. She wasn't going to live for too many more years. And so I knew that this field didn't have to last for decades. It only had to last for the duration of the time that we continue to own the property. And it's held up well. I had to make other repairs too. The 4-inch old cast iron main sewer line going out to the tank itself had rusted so bad that it almost choked itself off, so there was no flow going through it. So that all had to be rebuilt as well. But what I ended up doing is this field was put in on the far side of the driveway, but getting the effluent over there was the challenge. And so I built a lift pump. I put in a little holding tank, dropped it in beside the big concrete septic tank, and then dropped an effluent pump into that. And so it picks up the effluent, the black water, sends it across the driveway over to the distribution field. And it works absolutely fine unless the pump fails. Fortunately, I made it serviceable. I made it so that there was an access cover and that I could take that off, and that I could undo the coupling and then pull the old pump out. The other day, my daughter called me and said that things weren't draining properly, and they could hear funny noises. And so I looked, and sure enough, the GFI breaker had tripped. When I put the original pump in, I installed a GFI receptacle on the outside of the house, and then through a conduit ran a cord that I plug into that. So I went and checked it the other night, and sure enough, it was tripped. When I unplugged the pump and reset it, tests and resets fine. When I plug the pump back in, it trips immediately. So I pulled the cap off, and sure enough, everything was sitting underwater. Chicken and egg at this point. I don't know if it just hiccuped and something tripped the breaker, and then water filled up. And now with the cord coming from the pump itself, where it's plugged into the extension cord, that is now submersed. Therefore, it's going to trip the breaker every time I plug it in. So I don't know if now it's tripping because it's underwater, or if it's underwater because the pump has failed. This is what we will find out. Now, I don't recommend doing things that aren't legal. And I say that this is technically illegal because it wasn't engineered and then inspected. Like I say, I don't recommend doing that. This was a situation where we had a 82-year-old woman living in her house that she'd been in since 1964. and she didn't want to move. This would have forced her off the property. And so in wanting to avoid that, this is the route that I took. Excuse the yard mess here. My kids have been moving in and out of here, and they are in the process of doing that right now. But this whole patch of grass here that you see is where the field was put in. And we're walking on the field right now. And it's a long one, it's about 100 feet long. But it goes up to a distribution box, kind of underneath those overhanging branches there. And then crosses over the driveway. And the septic tank lives under here. And that is the access cover for our lift pump right there. The level has dropped a little bit. You're fortunate that smell doesn't come through on video. Well, so remember when I said plan for the worst and hope for the best? I've got a new pump here in case I need it. It's not a high quality pump, but it'll work. Definitely have rubber gloves. Got some compressed air in case I need to blow anything dry. I guess I need to just start taking this thing apart and see what I find. And it's definitely going to be the laundry day when all is said and done here. So I brought my little sump pump to drop down in there and draw some of that water out. I could also use my wet dry vac. I may go with the vacuum method and see if that works for me. First, take this filter off. It's not a wet vac if you've still got your filter on it. So many people have wrecked filters in that way by I imagine I'll have to do this a few times. So I've probably made 11 or 12 trips with this vacuum, 2.5 gallons a pop. So I'm probably up to about 30 gallons I've taken out of here, and it keeps filling up, which means there's water in the pipes that just keeps coming down. So the only way I'm going to get ahead of it is to put the sump pump in and send it across into the bush over there. And then I can expose enough of the business down there to actually work on it. Because I'm getting tired out making trips back and forth all the time. And if it keeps filling back up, then this could be running for a while. And that's far more efficient than making trips back and forth with the vacuum. So I guess I'm gonna have to decontaminate two things when all is said and done. At least it's pretty clean water that's coming out of there now, because the water in all the pipes was from laundry and dishes and whatnot. I can just start to see that coupling below the Merc. Now once it stops backfilling to this point down here,
then I'll know that I've drained the pipes in the house. And then I can use the vacuum to take off the last little bit of it to expose the fitting and where the cord is plugged into the unit itself, which actually I can see it right now. That's becoming exposed. Water is obviously still backfilling because the pump is running, but the water level is not going down.
So it's been pulling water out of there for about 5 minutes now. Had I kept using the wet vac method, I would have worn myself out with the number of trips that I would have had to make back and forth. This is how we figure things out sometimes.
Just started sucking air, which is a good sign because this tells me that it has stopped filling back up. So I'm going to unplug it for a couple of minutes and see if the water level rises. And if it doesn't, then I can draw the rest of it out with my wet vac. Well, it doesn't seem to be rising, but I was just realizing that what we may also have discovered here is equilibrium, homeostasis. If the level of the water here has now matched the level of the water in the pipes, or actually vice versa, it's not going to drain down any further than this. And I can't sink the sump pump any lower than this. So we may still be doing the bucket brigade wet vac procedure, but I'm probably at least 50 gallons ahead of where I was before I started running the sump pump. I continue to draw water out of here, and the level is not dropping very quickly. So I think what we have achieved is what I thought, and that is the water level in the pipes is the same level as this now. Having said that, you can see that I've exposed the electrical connection down there where it's plugged into the cord. What I can do now is I can unplug that cord from this pump and plug it into a different cord to just see whether or not the issue is the pump, or if it somehow hiccuped and got submersed, which then tripped the GFI. So I will plug the pump in now independently and see if it runs. If it doesn't, then I'm taking out a little bit more water and replacing the pump that's in there. The pump works. Look at it go. So somehow the electrical connection got submersed. Oh yeah, you can see all the water draining out of the septic tank now into our holding tank. You know, to you this may look gross, but to me this is a beautiful thing.
Let's just take a moment to admire this, shall we?
And you can see the efficiency of this pump, how fast it takes the water out of there. So something tripped that breaker over there, that GFI receptacle. And then when that happened, this shut off. And then when it shut off, it just filled up to the point where this cord was underwater, and then it's going to trip every time you try and reset it. So I wonder what the issue was.
Because when you're working on something like this, you don't want to close it back up again until you've actually figured out what's wrong.
Once I clean and dry out that cord, before I plug things back together again, I'll plug the cord back in, because who knows, maybe the cord has deteriorated and it's the cord itself that's shorting out. Well, the pipes are empty now. That which is flowing over from the septic tank itself is down to just a thin trickle. I've sprayed in here because I just wanted to spray all the gunge off the inside of this chase going down here, because I'm going to be sticking my arms down there, and so why rub them up against that stuff? I'm going to throw the hose back in here and fill the water so that I submerge that float, pull it up, and just activate the pump one more time. I just need to confirm that it's working correctly. So as I'm filling this, I think that pump was supposed to activate, and I just heard the GFI trip on the wall over there. So I wonder if there is kind of an intermittent problem with this pump. So that being the case, since I am here, it's a smart thing to do, and now that I've got it all clean, the smart thing to do definitely would be to replace this pump, because I have one on hand. Yeah, you can see that float right there. It's being pulled straight up and down right now. It's completely submerged now. It should have tripped the pump. Okay, I gotta play around with the GFI. I'm gonna stop putting water in here because I want complete access to this right here, which I currently have. So I'll catch you up when I'm done. I reset the GFI, I plugged it in, and the pump activated. You can see how low the water level is now. You can actually see the top half of the pump itself back there. So, at the end of the day, I don't trust the pump. Why is that breaker up there tripping? Is it a GFI? Is that the problem? Right, I'm going to fill it again. Watch it cycle again.
Okay, I've been going back and forth on to whether or not to pull this pump, and I'm definitely going to pull the pump. I just filled it and drained it again, and I keep having to reset that GFI over there, but I don't think it's the GFI. I think the GFI is doing its job. I think the problem is the pump. What's interesting is it just tripped again after draining everything down to the lowest point that it's going to drain. 30 seconds later, trip. With no attempted draw. Like, it wasn't trying to activate the pump, but something shorting out. It's got to be in the pump. The other thing is that I've got this all open. I've got it all clean. I've got a pump here. I can change the pump. And if the problem persists, then it's a GFI replacement, which is easy. But I'm going to work my way from the hardest point back, simply because of access. I don't want to be down digging in here again if I don't have to. So if I can basically eliminate this as a potential problem down in the ground, then that's an easy fix to replace the GFI. I think that makes sense, yeah? I just realized something as I'm running clean water through this hose and through my little sump pump here to just flush it out. Get rid of that gray water, black water business. And that is, I ran this sump pump for half an hour, plugged into that GFCI over there, and did not have an issue with it. So I actually don't think the problem is with that GFCI at all. That's another clue that my issue is with this pump down here. So I'm feeling more and more confident about changing this thing out all the time.
was a 2-inch fitting in the old pump that I just pulled out. It is a 1.5-inch fitting going into the new pump. So I need to do two things here. I need to reduce this down to this size right here, this male threaded size. And I need to maintain the length of this. There's a couple ways I could do that. I could put a coupler in here and just reduce down to 1.5 and then put a threaded bushing on the end, glue that on and thread it into here, or thread it straight into the actual pump itself, depending on what size I find. But I also have to be very careful that I don't change the length of this. I was so close. I just thought of something, because I'm switching pumps, and I don't know if the outlet height on the new pump is the same as the old pump. I actually think it sits a little bit lower, which means that my new pipe probably has to be 1 inch or 2 longer. I might be better off to just build a whole new pipe out of 1.5, discard this completely, and then make my 1.5 to 2 inch transition right at the bend and deal with it that way.
Hello, wall of ABS. Show me your wares.
This is where I'm being sabotaged. I need a 2-inch to 1.5-inch mechanical coupling, and I see 1.5 by 1/4. I see 3-inch by 2-inch. I even see 4-inch by 5-inch, but I do not see 2-inch by 1.5. Okay, I've temporarily screwed my old 2-inch pipe back into my old pump because that is the height that I have to duplicate to the top of this. And 33.5 will get me there. I have the parts I need to make this work now. I was originally going to build the whole thing out of 1.5 inch because that's what fits in here, and then go from 1.5 to 2-inch just with a mechanical 1.5 to 2-inch coupling right here. But they didn't have one, so I had to go with plan B, which is to make my 1.5 to 2-inch transition around here somewhere. It'll all work the same, so I guess I'm okay with it. There's our transition, and there's our 33.5 inches of height. So I'm good there. I'm a little reticent to glue this just yet. I kind of want to test fit it first and get this aligned on the right axis before I commit. Although the pump can move once it's down in there. However, I need to position it. The old one just kind of was right over top of the pump. So that's where I will start.
I'm being very careful as I lower this in because I need to bear the weight of the pump by hanging onto the cord itself. Because my ABS is only dry fit, I don't want to hang onto the pipe to hold the load, because if it lets go, I could lose everything way down in the bottom of the tank. But it was a successful fit, so I'm heading back now to glue it up permanently. Getting it positioned here, sliding my mechanical coupling into place, sliding my hose clamps into position, And now I have to go clean my hands because I forgot to put my gloves on, so I'm spraying them with some disinfectant spray and cleaning them off thoroughly because I'm an idiot. Now I'm just giving the end of my electrical cord a final wipe down. I'd already sucked any residual water out of it with my vacuum, but I want to give it a good wipe and clean and plug in the new pump into the existing cord, which was revealing.
Moment of truth. Oh, you tripped right away. There's a problem with this cord. Maybe there was a problem with the cord and the old pump. Two problems. Because I was bypassing this cord and the other pump was tripping the breaker. Okay, I've got you plugged into a different cord. Bypassing this guy. Let's see what happens.
Note that you did not hear a click when I plugged in this time, because the GFCI receptacle breaker did not trip.
Oh, okay. It's quiet. I can't hear it, but I can feel the vibration coming through the cord. And I can see the water level dropping. And it just shut off. Let's turn some water on. And this will either confirm that there is an issue with the GFCI over here, or let me know that there is not an issue with the GFCI over there. Well, it takes a fair bit of water to fill this tank down here, but I am now coming up to the top of the pump.
So the pump was actually working. It was kicking in and running while I was filling, only I couldn't hear it because I was filling, which is why I unplugged the pump and then plugged it back in.
You can see the water just covering the pump now. So I'm going to shut this off. Plug you back in. And the level drops very quickly. I can feel the vibration of the pump running. And we are not tripping that GFI when I bypass this cord with this pump. Previously, we were tripping the GFI with the old pump using this cord, bypassing that one there. So there was an issue with both this cord and the pump. So my problem is solved, but the work is not finished. For now, I can run this with a temporary cord, and they can run the house, and everything should be fine in that regard. But I will have to run some new power into that area, and I'm just going to cut this cord out completely, pull it out, and I'm going to fish some Romex through there. I'm going to put a box inside that chase down low that I can plug directly into, and then I'll put a plug in on the other end so I can plug into this GFI here, so it's still GFI protected above ground, which I kind of like. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, feel free to do so, or at least like the video. I don't ask for that all the time, but that would be nice. I'd like to get up to over 1,000 subscribers. I think that would be cool. Nice big fat number relative to where it's currently at, which is 800 and something. Anyways, I'm totally going off topic here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I know I did. I learned that I never want to have to do this again. See you next time.